In the unforgiving calculus of military technology, there are no prizes for second place. Every bolt, every composite panel, every line of code is a wager against oblivion, a carefully engineered argument for survival in an environment where physics and hostile intent collide at supersonic speeds. A fractional reduction in radar cross-section, a marginal increase in engine efficiency, a slightly more resilient data link, these are not academic trifles. They are the currency of victory, the slender margins that separate a successful sortie from a smoking crater. It is within this crucible of high-stakes engineering and national ambition that the Xian H-20, China's first foray into the exclusive domain of the strategic stealth bomber, must be understood. Since its official acknowledgement in 2016 by People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLAF, General Ma Xiaotian, the H-20 program has been an exercise in strategic ambiguity, a ghost in the machine of global military intelligence. It exists more as a potent shadow than a physical reality, deliberately shrouded in a veil of tantalizingly vague promotional videos and official pronouncements of great progress. This protracted and opaque development is not merely a symptom of engineering delays. It is a weapon in itself. By keeping the world guessing about the bomber's true capabilities and operational timeline, Beijing forces potential adversaries to plan for the worst-case scenario, to allocate vast resources to counter a threat that may not yet be fully formed. This constant state of anticipation, this forcing of an opponent's hand, is a form of warfare waged long before any weapons are released. The H-20 has been coming soon for so many years that its eventual debut may feel less like an unveiling and more like an exhumation. Yet this disconnect between Beijing's confident pronouncements and more sober Western intelligence assessments, which place a meaningful operational capability well into the 2030s, is too consistent to be accidental. It is a managed perception campaign designed to alter the strategic balance of the Indo-Pacific through psychological pressure, compelling the United States and its allies to spend billions on hardening bases and dispersing forces against a specter. The H-20's first and most significant mission, therefore, has already been underway for years, fought not in the skies, but in the minds of strategic planners. The strategic imperative driving the H-20's creation is a direct response to the profound limitations of China's existing bomber force. For decades, the PLAF's long-range strike capability has rested on the wings of the Xian H-6, a platform whose lineage traces directly back to the Soviet Tupolev Tu-16 of the 1950s. While successive upgrades have kept the H-6 relevant as a standoff missile carrier, its fundamental design, a conventional non-stealthy airframe, renders it utterly non-survivable in a modern, contested airspace defended by advanced fighters and integrated air defense systems, IADS. To project power beyond its immediate periphery, an H-6 sortie would require a massive and vulnerable support package of escort fighters and aerial tankers, a logistical footprint that is both unsustainable and easily targeted. This reality has confined the PLAF to the role of a regional air force, capable of defending its own shores, but lacking the tools to hold distant, well-defended targets at risk. The H-20 is engineered to shatter that paradigm. Its design is explicitly tailored to overcome the geographic and military barriers of the first and second island chains, the strategic lines of archipelagos that hem in the Chinese mainland and host a formidable network of U.S. and allied military installations. A bomber with a projected unrefueled range of at least 8,500 kilometers and low observable characteristics can threaten the critical logistics and command hubs in Japan, the Philippines, and, most importantly, the U.S. territory of Guam, without which American power projection in the Western Pacific becomes exponentially more difficult. Beyond this conventional role, the H-20 is the final and essential component for a credible nuclear triad. While China has robust land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles and a growing fleet of ballistic missile submarines, a survivable air-breathing leg provides unique strategic advantages. Unlike a ballistic missile, a bomber can be launched as a powerful signal of intent during a crisis and then recalled, offering a vital de-escalation option that a silo-launched missile does not possess. Furthermore, in the context of China's stated no first-use nuclear policy, a stealth bomber force provides a resilient second strike capability, ensuring that a devastating first strike against its fixed missile sites would not go unanswered. The H-20 is therefore not merely a replacement for the H-6. It is the instrument intended to transform the PLAF from a strategic liability into a truly strategic air force, capable of independent, long-range campaigns that can shape the geopolitical landscape. It is an enabler, a platform designed to kick down the door of an enemy's air defenses, allowing less advanced assets to follow in its wake. The physical form of this strategic instrument, pieced together from satellite imagery of test articles, official computer-generated renderings, and wind tunnel models, points overwhelmingly toward a subsonic flying wing configuration, a design philosophy pioneered by the United States with the B-2 Spirit and its successor, the B-21 Raider. This is not a case of revolutionary innovation, but of calculated emulation. The H-20's design appears to be an amalgamation of observed and proven Western stealth concepts, a greatest hits of low observable engineering intended to reduce developmental risk. Recurring features in the available imagery include a blended wing body, serrated engine air intakes positioned dorsally to shield them from ground-based radar, and a clean overall planform with aligned edges to minimize radar returns. Some models have displayed a cranked kite wing shape and even exotic foldable twin-tail surfaces, which could theoretically be deployed for enhanced stability during certain flight phases and retracted to maximize stealth during ingress. Notably, many depictions lack the distinctive sawtooth trailing edge of the B-2, a feature optimized for low-altitude penetration. Its absence on the H-20 may suggest a design preference for high-altitude operations, where the curvature of the Earth and atmospheric conditions offer additional protection. However, the ultimate effectiveness of this carefully sculpted shape depends less on the elegance of the design and more on the unforgiving realities of material science and manufacturing precision. A stealth airframe is a game of millimeters. The smallest imperfection, a poorly fitted panel, a microscopic flaw in a radar-absorbent coating, a maintenance-induced scratch, can create a hot spot that shines like a beacon on an enemy's radar screen. This is the crux of the H-20 challenge. China has made monumental strides in developing the necessary advanced materials, from establishing production of T-800 grade carbon fiber composites to pioneering research into metamaterials engineered to absorb specific radar frequencies. Yet the leap from producing these materials in a laboratory to applying them consistently and flawlessly across a fleet of large, complex airframes is one of the most difficult undertakings in aerospace engineering. While China's industrial base is formidable, achieving the fanatical level of quality control required for a true, very low observable VLO platform has historically been a weakness. This likely underpins the persistent skepticism from Western intelligence officials, who understand that there is a vast and often unbridgeable chasm between a computer model that boasts a tiny radar cross-section and a production aircraft that can reliably maintain that signature after hundreds of flight hours in harsh operational environments. But the most elegant airframe is merely a glider without a power plant, and it is in the realm of propulsion that the H-20 program faces its most profound and defining challenge. China's struggle to develop high-performance military jet engines is a well-documented saga of frustration, marked by decades of reverse engineering failures, persistent reliability problems, and a technological gap with the West that has only recently begun to narrow. This single subsystem, more than any other, will dictate the H-20's ultimate performance envelope. its range, its payload, and its operational availability. Early speculation centered on the possibility of using Russian-made NK-321 engines. But the more credible and strategically logical path is the use of an indigenous power plant, most likely a non-afterburning derivative of the Shenyang WS-10 turbofan. The WS-10 itself has had a notoriously troubled development, originally designed for fighter aircraft and plagued for years with issues of reliability and insufficient thrust. While recent variants have shown significant improvement, adapting it for a stealth bomber presents a unique set of engineering trade-offs. A stealth bomber engine must balance the competing demands of fuel efficiency for range and thermal signature management for stealth. High bypass turbofans, which are highly efficient, are also physically large and produce a significant infrared signature, making them difficult to conceal within the airframe and mask from heat-seeking sensors. The engine's integration into the airframe is therefore paramount. The H-20 will undoubtedly feature deep, serpentine intake ducts to hide the highly reflective engine fan blades from radar, and flattened, shielded exhaust nozzles to cool and diffuse the hot exhaust gases, reducing the aircraft's thermal signature. This engine conundrum creates a cascade of unavoidable compromises. If the chosen engines are underpowered or less fuel efficient than their Western counterparts, designers are forced into a brutal choice: sacrifice payload to meet the required 8,500 kilometer range, or sacrifice range to carry a meaningful warload. This may explain the vast discrepancy in public payload estimates, which swing from a conservative 10 metric tons, a figure aligned with U.S. intelligence assessments, to a wildly optimistic 45 tons. Furthermore, if the engines prove to have a shorter time between overhauls than Western models, as is common with current Chinese designs, the operational readiness of the entire H-20 fleet will be degraded. For an expensive, low-density asset like a strategic bomber, having a significant portion of the fleet grounded for engine maintenance at any given time would severely limit its strategic utility, perhaps making its most critical mission simply returning to base without incident. Assuming the H-20 can successfully reach its target area, its effectiveness then rests on the unseen fist of its armament and the complex nervous system of its avionics. The prerequisite for any stealth platform is an internal weapons bay, and the H-20 is designed around this central feature, capable of carrying a mix of both conventional and nuclear munitions. Its primary conventional armament will likely consist of long-range air-launched cruise missiles, such as the CJ-20, allowing the bomber to release its payload from a standoff distance, outside the densest rings of enemy air defenses. The bay will also be configured to carry precision-guided bombs for direct attack on hardened targets, and in the future, it will serve as a launch platform for advanced anti-ship missiles and nascent hypersonic weapons. The ability to find, track, and engage these targets falls to the aircraft's sophisticated sensor suite. This will be centered on an advanced active electronically scanned array, AISA radar, featuring low probability of intercept modes that allow it to scan for targets while minimizing its own electronic emissions. This will be complemented by a suite of passive sensors, such as electronic support measures, ESM, that can detect and geolocate enemy radar and communication signals without revealing the bomber's own position. Drawing on the sensor fusion architecture developed for the J-20 fighter, the H-20's mission computers will integrate data from all these sources to build a comprehensive, real-time picture of the battle space. However, the greatest challenge lies not in the hardware, but in the software. A stealth bomber is not merely an airplane, it is a flying, networked data processing node. The millions of lines of code required to manage a mission, navigating hostile territory, dynamically rerouting around pop-up threats, managing electronic emissions, and coordinating with off-board assets, all while under extreme pressure, represent a monumental software integration task. This is an area where the United States, with its decades of operational experience with the B-2 and its digital-first design approach for the B-21, maintains a profound and often underestimated advantage. It is plausible, therefore, that early production blocks of the H-20 will be limited to simpler, pre-planned strike missions, with the more complex adaptive capabilities only emerging years later after extensive operational testing and iterative software development. The H-20 airframe, however capable, is merely the tip of a vast and complex operational spear. Its strategic value can only be realized through the creation of an entire bomber enterprise, an ecosystem of support, logistics, and personnel that China is currently building from the ground up. The most critical dependency in this enterprise is aerial refueling. While the H-20's baseline range is impressive, its ability to project power to the second island chain and beyond, or to loiter for extended periods, is entirely contingent on a fleet of survivable tankers such as the Y-20U. A single long-range H-20 mission could require multiple refuelings, each one a point of extreme vulnerability. The tankers themselves are large, non-stealthy aircraft that would be prime targets in any conflict. Planning and protecting survivable tanker tracks across the immense distances of the Pacific Ocean is a daunting operational challenge, one that will consume a significant portion of the PLAF's fighter and command and control assets. China's tanker fleet, while growing, remains a fraction of the size of its U.S. counterpart, fundamentally limiting the number of long-range bomber sorties it can sustain simultaneously. This creates a glaring strategic vulnerability. The most effective way to neutralize the H-20 threat may not be to hunt the elusive bomber itself, but to kill the tankers, severing its logistical lifeline and leaving it stranded with dwindling fuel reserves thousands of kilometers from home. Beyond the hardware, there is the human factor. Operating a strategic bomber force requires a deep well of institutional knowledge that takes generations to build. This extends far beyond the pilots in the cockpit to include mission planners who can choreograph complex, multi-day sorties, intelligence analysts who can provide the pinpoint targeting data required for precision strikes, and, crucially, a highly specialized corps of maintenance technicians trained to preserve the aircraft's delicate, low observable coatings and systems. The United States has been honing these skills since the operational debut of the F-117 and B-2 decades ago. For the PLAF, this is entirely new territory. The number of trained crews, secure, climate-controlled maintenance hangars, and operational Y-20U tankers will ultimately be a more accurate metric of China's true strategic bomber capability than the raw number of H-20 airframes produced. When placed in the pantheon of its global peers, the H-20's position becomes clearer. Its primary benchmark is the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit, the platform it so closely emulates. The B-2 is a mature, combat-proven system that has benefited from decades of operational experience and technological upgrades. While the H-20, as a newer design, may incorporate more modern composite materials or have greater raw computing power, it fundamentally lacks the B-2's invaluable record of real-world performance under fire, a pedigree that cannot be replicated in simulations or on a test range. The more critical comparison, however, is with the B-21 Raider, the aircraft that will form the backbone of the U.S. bomber force for the 21st century. Here, the divergence is not merely technological, but philosophical. The H-20 appears to be a fifth-generation platform designed to master a known paradigm, a large, penetrating stealth bomber in the mold of the B-2. The B-21, by contrast, is a sixth-generation system built around the principles of adaptability, affordability, and deep network integration. Its open systems architecture is designed for rapid modular upgrades, ensuring it can evolve to meet new threats without requiring a complete redesign. It is conceived not as a lone wolf, but as a central node in a vast interconnected family of systems capable of sensing, commanding, and controlling other assets on the battlefield. With the B-21 already in flight testing and low-rate initial production, it is programmatically years ahead of the H-20. This suggests that even if the H-20 eventually meets all its technical specifications, it may enter service as a platform designed to fight yesterday's war, while its primary competitor is already being fielded for tomorrow's. The Russian Tupolev PAK-DA program serves as a stark cautionary tale in this context. Also a subsonic flying wing concept, the PAK-DA has been perpetually delayed by budget shortfalls, technological hurdles, and the crippling effect of international sanctions, leaving its future in serious doubt. It is a powerful reminder that designing a stealth bomber on a computer is one thing. Mustering the immense industrial, financial, and technological resources to build and field it in meaningful numbers is another challenge entirely, one that Russia appears to be failing. Ultimately, the Xian H-20 occupies a dual existence. In the realm of strategy and perception, it is already a resounding success. Its shadowy presence has forced a tangible shift in the strategic posture of the United States and its allies, compelling them to invest in countermeasures and treat the security of their rear area bases with a new urgency. It is a symbol of China's technological ascent and its unwavering ambition to achieve military parity with the world's foremost power. In the cold, hard world of engineering and operational reality, however, its future is far less certain. The program is beset by profound challenges that strike at the very heart of modern aerospace manufacturing. The development of reliable, high-performance engines, the mass production of flawless composite structures and radar-absorbent materials, the integration of impossibly complex mission software, and the creation of a vast logistical and training enterprise from a standing start. The H-20 will undoubtedly fly, and it will almost certainly be unveiled with great ceremony. But whether it becomes a truly effective, combat-credible force capable of shaping the outcome of a major conflict, or remains a Potemkin fleet of a few exquisitely crafted but operationally limited showpieces, will depend entirely on China's ability to solve that last, most difficult 10% of the problem, the unforgiving margin where ambition so often succumbs to the intractable laws of physics and finance. The map of the Pacific has already been reshaped by the H-20's shadow. Whether it can be reshaped by its substance remains the defining question.